All right, let's go ahead and get started today. I want to welcome everyone to today's session. Um, my name's Adam Kurtz, and I will be talking about Stratum on the cloud, or what we effectively call it, Stratum Cloud. So, what is it and why? We'll talk a little bit about the architecture, security, how you would essentially get the data to us so that we could store it for you. The Stratum interface is essentially the same. And then we'll talk about some upcoming features on the new release for this year, 7.6, and how it relates to both on-premise and cloud customers. Well, this is, if you're not familiar with the Stratum Data Hub, this is a picture of it and all the different ways of getting data in and out of Stratum. As you can see within the core of the pinwheel are the different applications that are available within Stratum: sales performance, marketing, inventory, manufacturing, all different areas of analytics that you could pursue within Stratum. On the left-hand side are different ways of getting data into Stratum. And then on the right-hand side are different ways of getting data out of Stratum. So today we'll be concentrating on running Stratum completely on the cloud so that you don't have to really worry about licensing in terms of buying the software. You can now subscribe to it on an annual basis, and you don't have to worry about running it or having a team of people maintaining it. So we'll talk about some of those um, benefits a little bit later. Um, Today, as we can see, Gartner is telling us by 2028 that 70% of our workloads will run in the cloud computing environment, and that many enterprises still see useful ways of providing additional capacity. It most likely will become a necessity by 2028. So, will you be ready as the environments and the computing world changes? Um, we see a benefit here to, obviously hosting Stratum Cloud for you and moving in that direction. So, what is it? What is Stratum Cloud? Well, it's basically Stratum somewhere else. As you do today, your users are already accessing the interface via their browser. So this is something that would be basically the same interface. They won't feel anything different. The views will run the same way. The features all would work the same way. So there's really nothing that would be taken away from you in terms of the actual interface itself. Um, why would you do something like putting Stratum on the cloud? I guess the first concept would be to save costs. There's a lot of savings to be had here. Um, you would not have to have an IT resource full time on this particular application, or several IT resources depending on how big the application is. We've got different customers with different teams of people, depending on how complicated and how big the application has grown. So that provides a convenience factor, obviously, to your team. Um, obviously, you're not having to worry about maintaining it. Makes things easier for your team. Allows you to, if you're going through IT reduction, obviously this goes in alignment with that. And while everyone likes one less app or server to support on premise, so and that might be a corporate mission for you as you move forward through these coming years. You might be you might have your MO might be such that you're getting rid of servers and moving things away and off to the cloud. The architecture is constantly changing, but typically today, how we would implement it would be different servers that would host the different environments for different customers. Um, so we scale out, as you can see, by different virtuals, and then the different customers come in and authenticate through Microsoft Identity. So that's what we prefer. We prefer that if you're using Microsoft Entra or Office 365, we would just basically authenticate using that Microsoft identity, and that way, we don't really store any user IDs or passwords. We don't store domain users. None of that is provided. It's all based on and delegated and responsible of Microsoft's uh, security technology. So we just basically hop right on top of that. So this would be just another app that your users would get invited to, and they would be able to confirm that they want to be able to connect. And then the authentication is pretty much automatic at that point in terms of Microsoft. It's almost as if you're connecting to any other application that you use Microsoft, such as Office 365. It would be the same authentication. Each customer's information is kept in separate silos, so there's really no way of obviously contaminating the different environments with the different pieces of data that are coming in. Um, and by the way, the data would be coming in typically on a nightly basis through what we call SFTP, which stands for Secure File Transfer Protocol. And it's just basically a safe and encrypted way to get your data, your daily transactions to us, so that we can get that stored within your Stratum environment and make the fresh data available to your users. So that's how it's constructed today. We take security very seriously. And again, being able to hop on top of Azure AD and Microsoft Entra, these are things that we lean on Microsoft for. So that's something that takes care of the identity and access management. Threat protection is provided through these means. Obviously, we provide um, SSL encryption so that your data is secure going from pipeline through the pipelines and from from the server to the client. You know, all that's wrapped into our security policy. As I just spoke about information protection, storing the data in a secure, protected silo. All that comes together to provide comprehensive security for your Stratum Cloud environment. The data transfer, spoke about that a few slides ago about how you would get your data to us. Um, and we would have discussions about this, of course, if we were to engage, and what type of files would be sent. It would depend on whether you're using or a Stratum today, or if you're a new customer. Some of this might depend on the structure of the files and how they would be sent in terms of format. But the bottom line here is that secure file transfer protocol is required, basically, so that the data is obviously encrypted. There's a tunnel created from your FTP site to mine, and or I should say to Silvon's, and that's a very secure way of getting your data to us without while minimizing any security threats or breaching any security for your data. So we took that very seriously. So this is something that we would require that you would use SFTP, and basically, and we could, if you're not familiar with those methods, we could certainly help with you the different interfaces. That there's one in particular that we use, that we could provide training on, and scripting, so that you don't necessarily have to worry too much about how you would use this. It's very similar to, if it's not identical to FTP, except that you're just using secure FTP, essentially. As I said earlier, the Stratum user interface is basically the same as if you were using it on premise. And so obviously the only difference would be that we're using SSL connections, so that each customer site is secured by encryption, um, providing a level of trust and verification for each user that comes in, and is basically bounced away if they are trying to do something illegal, or something, some sort of hack tries to come in and hack into your website. You're protected uh, through this method of encryption as well. So there's redundancies and different levels of authentication that come into play here to provide your overall protection and security for your Stratum Cloud environment. This is an interesting slide. I think that it really kind of showcases the savings in cost in terms of what you need to incur by hosting applications versus having them hosted for you with a SaaS or a cloud model. And as you can see on the left, by owning or hosting on premise, you can see all the costs there down on the bottom portion of the iceberg, and we can see that there's quite a bit of additional components to think about when you're hosting an application. Um, what are the implementation and customizations costs, the infrastructure? Obviously you're going to need a server or some sort of hardware to run this on. You might need a resource, or at least if it's not a full-time resource, that it is a resource is a time nonetheless, which is money. Um, Maintenance and training is something to constantly worry about in terms of, how do I administer this thing? How do I maintain it? And as you can see on the right hand side, just the onus is on Silvon at that point in terms of the maintenance. We provide the infrastructure, the IT team, so a lot of that goes away, right? And even the training for that matter, that's something obviously, yes, you're going to need to go through some forms of training, but um, even if you're a current Stratum customer, you can even think about, that would be a minimal cost nonetheless. So a lot of that cost would go away. As you can see, it makes a lot of sense to reduce some of those different areas. And you might be already under corporate mandate to do some of this anyway. So, let us help you out with that endeavor as needed. The future, as we can see, Stratum version 7.6 coming out this year. We can see that there's been some pretty significant enhancements for the Stratum Cloud architecture. As you can see, support for Azure Data Factory is now coming into fruition to help you use that to transform and move your transactional data into your Stratum Data Hub. This is something that would be available for Stratum Cloud customers only, and you would be able to, use whether that's coming from your Azure Blob container, an Azure file share, or even another Azure SQL database. So, this would be available for the cloud, Stratum Cloud customers, in addition to a new Stratum Cloud API platform that can be used by Azure data pipelines to import, again, data into your Stratum Data Hub. So more advanced, more recent technologies are being incorporated into the Stratum Cloud architecture so that, once 2028 does roll around, the Stratum application is up to date for you and ready to take advantage of some of the new technologies that are available to get data into Stratum. We're also implementing an enhanced data architecture model that supports new data import features. This allows for new time-saving features by using data import templates so that you don't have to define a new data import job every time you want to import data. A more user-friendly interface is being developed to map your transactional data to your model. And the concept of the reusage of prior imports of similar data, such as data from the same category, that needs to be updated over time. This is something that is you would be able to reuse these jobs over and over again, so that you don't have to remap and redefine new jobs every time you want to import data. So a lot of convenience factors being incorporated into 7.6. A lot of these import features, such as providing different data types of data sources for Stratum. So as you can see, for both on-premise and cloud customers, data import is still being enhanced. so that it can use different types of data sources such as Excel files, SQL Server database tables, text files, and CSV files. So those will become available for both cloud and on-premise customers. The data import template concept would be available for on-premise customers as well, which again simplifies your future jobs of importing data through the interface. Um, so those are the things some of the things that, as you can see, we're really heavily invested in making Stratum Cloud more robust, more efficient on the cloud. And we're, as you can see, piling a bunch of development hours into the cloud and the concept of, making Stratum the best it can be on the cloud. You can reach me. You can certainly email me. As you can see, that's my email address and my phone number. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions about this content. But as you can see, Stratum can certainly be hosted offsite. Something that you could, um, rely on Silvon to provide that expertise and to provide that infrastructure for you. Um, we want to take a look just very quickly at the um, interface. This is essentially hosted. We do have a cloud environment for our demo, and as you can see, it's basically the same interface. So it's nothing different. When you run a view, you've got the same concept, the same features of drilling down, um, changing your time sequences. That's all the same. So none of the menus would be different in terms of using the product and being able to navigate through the interface. So you're really not sacrifice anything. If you're using the email broadcast features, that's available. So that's not going away. So, if you're still wanting your users to be emailed reports, absolutely still available. And these are all things that we would work out with you and your IT team so that, there's no surprises in terms of security, in terms of email, communications. We've actually developed a pretty comprehensive questionnaire to go through so that we're not missing any one of these, critical items to discuss, um, just to make sure that your move to the Stratum Cloud is as convenient and efficient as possible. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Again, you can contact me. This will be recorded and put on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check out Silvon Software on our YouTube, and you can retake the course or any other prior courses that we have throughout the year.